Okay. Hari, Hari, Hari Om Tats. Shuddho Buddho Vimuktaha Shruti Shikhara Giram Mukhyata Atparya Bhumi Yasmad Jadam Samastam Jagadidam Amrutad Vyapya Sarvam Sthito Yaha Yasyam Sham Shabataraihi Suranaravanajairyakshidam Sarvametad Tam Bhumanam Mukundam Hridigatamalam Krishnameva Prapadye Tam Bhumanam Mukundam Hridigatamalam Krishnameva Prapadye Madhya Hridaya Kashe Sadanandamayo Guruhu Udetu Satatam Samyag Swatmananda Prabodhakaha. Hari, Hari, Hari Om Tas. We shall have the 3 times Omkara recitation together. Interlock your fingers, put them on your lap, sit comfortably erect, close your eyes, open the mouth and the heart and join me. Let our joint recitation permeate the whole of the earth, showering its benedictions on all kinds of creatures. Hari, Hari, Om Tat Sat. Jai Guru, Jai Guru. We just concluded the 5th Global Bhagavad Gita Convention. Many of you must have viewed it, but I thought I will share my thoughts and evaluation about what happened in the 3 days, because it is necessary. This convention was held like the earlier conventions. Why? All the programs that we are conducting are only on behalf of our listeners and participants in our programs in one way or the other. Maybe some are there in our viewership today who had no occasion to see the GBGC we held on 19th, 20th and 21st. A lot of efforts and preparation had gone in by people living in different countries of the world. One will be speaking from Malaysia, another from America, a third from India, maybe another from South Africa. Like the people were very distributed. To bring all of them together on the screen without any hitch and present the program the way our people have done, it is not a small job at all. And they are not professionals. They have spent several hours even during the night, because our time is always not the same at all. We cannot have a world uniform time. It is impossible. The earth is round and it is revolving. What is day to one half of the earth will be night to the other half, and vice versa. So the time difference is also a problem. So preparations also meant a lot of sacrifice on the part of the people concerned to have the coordination. Somehow it has been done, and I believe it went on well. Maybe a little hitch there or there might have taken place. This time we had meant the convention particularly for the benefit of the youth. And the way that we could perhaps think the best was to have all the MCs, 4 of them, very young children. I think all of you should be grateful to the parents of these children, how they brought up the children, instilling in them that spiritual affinity, Vedantic correspondence, this kind of a yogic attitude and enrichment. All of them must have felt it necessary. Otherwise they would not have come with the readiness to become MCs for 3 days. After they were selected and they had agreed upon, I had written to them. I am very particular that the MCs fill the stage, fill the platform, and also they should fill the hearts and minds of the audience, of the viewers. This is not easy at all. They must be very articulate. Every time they have to present the event, the speaker to come, how the subject presented is welded with the main theme, mental harmony, the universal message. So all the girls, I believe, had spent sufficient time to know the subject. And in the process they had to learn Bhagavad Gita also in a brief manner. What is Bhagavad Gita? Where it transpired? What was the purpose? What was the objective? Who spoke to whom? When? How? And what was the effect? After all, it was a dialogue that transpired in the battlefield of Kurukshetra more than 5,000 years ago. We are not battling. We are not fighters. Can the dialogue be applicable to us? This is a very, very important question. Can an old dialogue or conversation have relevance and practicality, applicability in the modern day? These are all questions very important. I explained to them that Bhagavad Gita is actually a discussion primarily on the human personality. You may wonder whether the human personality is not visible. Everybody knows that we have a body, 2 hands, 1 head, 2 eyes, 1 nose, with 2 holes, 2 ears, 2 legs. Is that the human personality? Certainly not. All of you are deluded if you think that you are the body personality. My dear souls, you are not. I will continue to say not till the end of my bodily life. Where is your body when you go to sleep? 16 hours of the day you are wakeful. Half the time you are asleep. So every wakeful period, half of it, you are unconscious of the body. So is the consciousness of the body in the wakeful hours, can it be accepted as truth? Our wakefulness itself is born of sleep, and it goes and coils down into the sleep. Every wakeful state occurs between 2 sleeps. What is the rating or evaluation you are prepared to give to such a wakeful state? Our body is made up of matter. Therefore it is inert. It cannot cause any kind of an experience. Certainly not. Our body and senses are employed by the inner mind, which is not a part of the body, which is associated with the body. A statement and revelation which this Swami continues to make here, there, everywhere, on all occasions. It's a wonderful truth. A truth that you cannot ignore, miss, postpone to know. So Bhagavad Gita is discussing the human personality. Means what? It is not discussing the body as such. This is a subject for the medicinal science. None of us knows what is our body. Do you know the anatomy and physiology of the body? Certainly not. It is known by the doctors who treat you. But there is one area which the medical science will not be able to explore, has not explored, and can say nothing about. That is, inside the body, there is an inner personality consisting of the mind, intelligence and ego. That is what Bhagavad Gita probes into, exposes, explains, reveals and displays. Bhagavad Gita tells us that everything in our personality is superior to the world and the world is inferior. Senses are superior to the objects, mind is superior to the senses, intelligence is still superior to the mind, and superior still to the intelligence is the I that you are referring to repeatedly. Does anybody know this? Has there been a scientist who has said that this is so? Is it a matter for medicine to deal with and expose? So Bhagavad Gita first of all discusses the human personality and discloses to you how much of inner treasure, potential, magnitude, measure and resources your own mind, intelligence and ego hold within themselves. The most ancient man had a body, a mind, an intelligence and ego, and then the I. The most modern man also has all these, nothing more, nothing less. So if a discussion of the human personality was made for the sake of Arjuna by Krishna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, just before the commencement of the discharge of arrows, is not that discussion valid and effective even now? Tell me, my dear souls, don't be blind, don't be deaf and dumb. Human personality has not changed ever since it arose on the surface of the earth. What about the surrounding world? Has earth changed? What about the water and the oceans, the air, then fire and the space? No. So where is the change that you are referring to? What do you mean by modernness? And what do you mean by ancientness? So Bhagavad Gita's discussion is primarily on the human personality. Then about the complex and amazing world which surrounds us. Our own body is included in the world. It is this world that the individual interacts with. Right from the time he wakes up in the morning till he goes to sleep, he interacts with the world. The Panchabhautik world, the world of the Panchabhutas, the five elements. How complex is the world? What all it will generate? Are there any set courses which nature follows or pursues? How is the nature acting upon the humans and the other creatures? What is the type of harmony that we must have between ourselves and the world we interact with? How do you define this harmony? Is it something material, physical and objective? Or is it something relating to the inner resources or constituents of the human personality? It is called mental harmony, inner harmony. Harmony that is pursued, perfected, retained, preserved, applied gloriously every time with regard to all your interactions. Bhagavad Gita discusses the human personality, the complex world, and then the art and science of interacting with the world by the individual. These are the three subjects. Wherever they were exposed, whatever may be the circumstances, the same three factors are even today relevant with equal force and applicability. What we want today is a harmony. Harmony which the mind generates and preserves. An ability, a skill, a readiness, a resolve, a potential, a magnitude, by virtue of which the mind will be able to integrate and harmonize every kind of an input from the world. This is what we mean by mental harmony, the universal message. If you understand it well, my dear souls, this is the only universal message. All other messages can be only microscopical parts of this one wonderful message. That was the subject for us. And I believe our youngsters, particularly the MCs, understood the subject. We held meetings and conversations, dialogues with them, met them more than once. I wrote to them. I said, your role is to unite the audience, the viewers with the speakers. The platform should not look dull. It should become luminous. It should be effulgent. It should be scintillating. You have to develop your own articulational skill by virtue of which you will deal with the subject already presented and will be presented. You will also present the speaker to the audience. Your presentation should be sufficiently appealing to the viewers. It can be enchanting, captivating, conquering even, provided you have the readiness and capacity to do so. These girls did a wonderful job. One advantage that resulted as a result of this presentation by them is they have become very intimate friends, particularly Bhagavad Gita fraternity they have developed. We were able to organize and marshal about 100 global ambassadors coming from different countries, and the program was witnessed by, as I understand, about 60 countries, people from about 60 countries. I think it is certainly a good reckoning for all of us. How to reach the world? It is an art and a science. There are so many channels which are operating on the air from different countries. Every one of them is trying to reach maximum people. Compared to them, we are nothing. Our subject also is not like theirs. We are discussing a science, an art, a fine art. We are discussing how to develop the character in man. That characteral elegance, it is a phrase I always use, frequently use. Characteral elegance, behavioral majesty, and interactional excellence. All our epic literature deals with only these three. Can you think of the characteral elegance of Sri Rama, the prince and the king of Ayodhya, about whom sage Valmiki has described using 24,000 Sanskrit verses for the purpose? That Rama who lived in Treta Yuga, mind you, how many times shall I say this? Even today he is alive with us. Supreme Court had to pronounce a judgment on Sri Rama and his birthplace. It was disputed whether there was a Rama, whether there was a birthplace. Is it to be identified, honored, and anything to be done? That itself became a national question in this country. Ultimately, people were unable to resolve the crisis. Finally, the Supreme Court had to arbitrate on it, adjudicate on it. And they pronounced the judgment. And they said, build a temple, form a committee. The Prime Minister was supposed to form a committee. And this much of area is there, you build a temple. What do you mean by this? Sri Rama of Treta Yuga is vibrant even today. And under government supervision, a temple is being built. Mind you, we are a secular country and this is happening. What do you think of the power of our epic literature? What do you think of the majesty, magnificence, potential and magnitude of Sage Valmiki's ascetic pen? He wrote cutting across the fibers of palm leaves. We don't have the original Grantha book he had written. We have not seen his steel pen, nor do we have a picture of the author. But his Rama is living in the hearts and minds of millions and billions of people in the world. What do you think of being a sage, being an ascetic? An ascetic alone thinks for the welfare of the whole world. And he thinks of nothing for him. His wealth is his nothingness, and his greatness is his universal fondness and love. His mind alone beams, shines, becomes vibrant with the thought and concern for the welfare of the whole people. His Rama, he decorated by his writing, asked him to get up from his lap and send him. People will not welcome you, my dear boy. You will have to usurp into the hearts and minds and take away the dross from their heart. Make them pure, make them noble, make them gentle, make them non-harming, make them helpful, make them graceful, make them benevolent, make them sacrificers. I want you to do this mammoth job. And Rama was continuing to do it. Even today he does. I think he will continue to do it forever. Why I am mentioning this? Our epic is not fiction. It is a historic writing about the Prince Rama who ruled the country, who ruled Ayodhya. Later on he became a king. He crossed the sea, went over to Lanka, subdued Ravana, entrusted the kingdom to Ravana's younger brother. Without taking even a piece of dust, he returned to Ayodhya. This is the greatness of India. This is what India is. We don't want to possess another's property. We have no interest in robbing and stealing. But we are always anxious to give lavishly, give lavishly. If you ask me, I am a Swami who always asks people, please rob me of whatever I have. Take away from me all that I have. Don't ask me my permission. My Gurudev used to say, Brahma Vidya is something that you have to get from the teacher, from the man who possesses it, if necessary by giving him a blow, he said. We are only transmitters of Brahma Vidya, transmitters of the treasure of the mind and the heart. That is what we have. So this GBGC convention was to make Bhagavad Gita known particularly to the young minds and hearts. A number of programs were evolved by our people, by the sponsors, from Malaysia, from America, from here and there. How many boys appeared on the scene? All of them with Bhagavad Gita, something to say. Some people quoted verses which were amazing to me. Beautiful, spiritually profound verses they quoted. And they said, we are benefited by this. I feel inspired. I have become stronger. I have become deeper. I have become stable. My fickleness of mind has reduced considerably. I have become poised. These were the words used by the boys. What do you think of it? My dear souls, Bhagavad Gita is an education. It educates everyone about his own inner personality, her own inner personality, and the resources they hold within themselves. That is why our organization is called Center for Inner Resources Development. All people in this world speak of only external resources, external resources, external resources, and they are trying to take them away and make the earth more and more deplete. Bequeath a less resourceful earth to the successors. Is this the way to live? We should understand what is meant by a sustaining or sustained civilization. A good civilization is one which never impairs nature, which never spoils the earth, spoil the seas, spoil the air. We should not spoil anything. We must be able to tap the resources in such a manner that nature will not be affected adversely at any point of time. What for is our intelligence? Is it to harm people? Is it to rob them? Or is it to award them, give them, bless them, benefit them? Live and let live is the motto we have. Don't live unless you let others also equally to live. Let live. This is something very important. Bhagavad Gita uses a phrase called Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. Ascetics are ascetics. They are good, welcome and noble only when they are interested in the welfare of all creatures in this world. Not only interested in human welfare, the welfare of the entire earth, the globe that we have. Damage or harm no creature in this world, even an insect if you can. Live in a glorious manner. The creatures may be mute, they may not articulate, but still they have feelings and responses. Let us get an ovation from the elephant, the deer, the jackal, the lion, hippopotamus, from every creature in this world. It is nature who has evolved them. In the same manner nature has evolved us. We have no business to interfere in their affairs, in their existence, in their growth or in their promotion. A lot of research may have to be done to understand what is the role each creature plays in the constitution and welfare of the whole world creation. Has anybody done it? I don't think. We are trying to do perhaps. In the Ayurvedic scripture, Charaka says, every herb on the earth is a medicine. Our food items also are medicine. For what? To appease the hunger. In the same manner, every creature has got a functional role to contribute to the overall welfare of all the creatures in this world. Just imagine what is this Bhagavad Gita. We are not battling, I agree, and we are not fighters. Let us not be. But war is the most intense, severe form of human activity. It can be undertaken only by public administration, whoever rule a country. Ordinary people or other institutions cannot take up battling. Our borders are defended by the army. Law and order is maintained by the police. Wherever there are large number of people, law and order will have to be ensured, and that can be done only by law enforcing machinery. Similarly, the borders have to be maintained only by our defense services. Let us understand it. And when necessary, a country will have to take up guns. We had our own experience when we were confronted by China. How many days and weeks and months the armies were looking at each other, frowning at each other. Ultimately, some good sense prevailed and they have gone back. I don't know whether they have fully gone back. What are you going to do? You will face your enemy lying down? Human nature will never allow it. Nature also does not want it. There are sattvic tendencies in man, equally rajasic and tamasic tendencies. All the three together constitute humanhood, worldhood and godhood. You cannot have a world of sattvic purity alone, nor can you have rajasic cruelty alone, nor the tamasic dullness and lethargy alone. All the three together alone constitute a viable whole. Let us understand it very well. So when Bhagavad Gita presented a solution to Arjuna, who was confronted by conflicts in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and that really worked a wonder. Arjuna only wanted two things. Krishna, aspirate the grief that is overpowering me. Grief is generally a creation of the mind. He said, my grief is so much that the whole body is getting scorched. I want you to cool me and take away the grief. The second is, my intelligence is deluded. I am not able to think in terms of propriety, righteousness and justice. So the entire Bhagavad Gita is aimed at resolving two problems for man. One is grief. Do you know grief is the only resulting adversity from all our life and interactions? Ultimately, you become aggrieved. Whether there is a loss, whether there is a failure, whether there is a disease, whether there is death, birth, anything whatsoever, ultimately it is unpleasantness, grief. That is the resultant adversity of the human mind. The next is a similar adversity for the intelligence, that is delusion. Inability to think and evolve clarity. As they confronted Arjuna in the battlefield, these are confronting everybody in the world, in the domestic front, professional front and the societal front. When Bhagavad Gita could resolve a crisis arising from the magnitude of an unprecedented war, where 4.5 million warriors had assembled, if Bhagavad Gita could resolve the crisis of Arjuna there, all the other crises which we can or will experience will be infinitesimally small, and a piece of Bhagavad Gita will be able to resolve everything of them. This is how Bhagavad Gita becomes relevant. I think the youngsters as well as the elders have understood the message well. And then we are going to meet the global ambassadors again, and we want these young minds to tell us what should be done to take the message of Gita still farther and farther in the globe. We want them to evolve a program. Let them think, pool their thought processes and tell us what should be done. We will try to help them and help them by direction, guidance, etc. So, after meeting the global ambassadors, the next event, global event will be on April 24, where I think our youngsters will have something to say and present before the world. This is a summary of the 5th Global Bhagavad Gita convention we held this time for 3 days. So many letters and acknowledgements have come. All of them are praising, evaluating every program that took place there. Not one. They have great words, good words to say about the MCs. And all the people who came in the platform and delivered their message in one way or the other. Everything of it was good, good, good. This is the message we got. I am not saying that this is all. Maybe other comments also are there. We have not got them. Generally, when everything is all right, people will comment. Nobody wants to write that something is bad. But people should write, saying that this is what we feel, this kind of a correction or improvement or an embellishment can be done. Such suggestions can be there, should be there. So we were all quite busy and involved in all this. Even then, the weekly sessions were not stopped, except on Saturday, where we could not have two programs at the same time. Our sessions were from 6 to 10, so I could not talk to you last Saturday as usual. We will continue where I had stopped from. Huh? We will chant the verse of Bhagavad Gita as usual. Be ready. Nahi prapashyami mamapanudyat.
Nahi prapashyami mamapanudyad.
Yachokamuchoshanamindriyanam.
Yachokamuchoshanamindriyanam.
Avapya bhuma vasapatnamruddham.
Avapya bhuma vasapatnamruddham.
Rajyam suranam apichadhipatyam.
Rajyam suranam apichadhipatyam.
This is the confession Arjuna made last, pointing to Krishna that Arjuna was suffering from scorching grief, which was blazing in his senses, he says. Grief generally affects the mind. Unless you are able to remove this grief, cool me, there is no question of my getting up and taking the bow and arrow back. Don't you think the message is absolutely relevant to all people who live in this world? Is there anybody who does not encounter grief in his life? And grief, it is for Bhagavad Gita to treat, resolve and cure. Give Bhagavad Gita any kind of a grief, it will resolve it. Krishna's instruction begins with the statement, Ashocyan anvashochastvam. You are grieving over those people who should not be grieved at all. So your grief arises from a conflict, a contradiction, a misconduct on your part. Are we born here to be aggrieved, or are we born here to be delightful, to be peaceful, to be contented? And constantly saying, I am discontented, I am discontented. What is this? I explained 4 verses from Abhijnana Shakuntala relating to Kandu Maharshi, his message to Shakuntala, the plants, etc. Apparently many people have liked it. I have not explained these verses throughout my life of dissemination. Only now I did it. I think I was delayed in referring to them and explaining it to our audience. I am happy. Now we are discussing the Brahmasthiti. Brahmasthiti is different from Atmasthiti, as I have already mentioned several times. Brahmasthiti is a completeness of vision. Brahman and Brahman alone is. Everywhere is Brahman's permeation. Permeation. Everything, if at all, exists on the substratum of Brahman, the supreme reality. It is just like the dream existing on the sleeper, the sleeping eye. Exactly in the same manner, the wakefulness also is resting upon the sleeping eye. The sleeper eye does not change at all. To make you understand how it takes place, we have the dream state. But always we don't dream, but every day we wake up from sleep to wakefulness. From sleep to wakefulness. In sleep, the eye was alone, absorbed into itself. From there, it wakes up and manifests the entire visibles. Understand it very well. So, Brahmasthiti is one where if you are able to understand and realize it, you will never slip from it. You are surrounded by it, penetrated by it, inseparably connected to it, and you have nothing to do. Because you are already in Brahman, and Brahman can never be mutated at all. That is called Brahmasthiti. And that Brahmasthiti, when one is able to reach, obviously it becomes something very great and glorious to him. The greatness is not belonging to the body, but the greatness and glory relate to his emotional mind and rational intelligence. It will be a greatness in the knowledge that he possesses. In the gracefulness the mind imbibes and displays. There he will become great. Ordinary people are working with a small mind, agitated mind, confused mind, deficient mind, debilitated mind. Whereas the Sthita Prajna and the Sthitadhi, the man of Brahmasthiti, will be living and moving with a graceful mind, relaxed mind, fulfilled mind, a mind overflowing with the ecstasy of the imperishable soul. Can you imagine the difference? You cannot photograph it. You cannot see it with your eyes. Some physical symptoms may be noticeable, but the inner treasure is not noticeable. It induces magnificence into the mind, majesty into the mind, greater and greater resourcefulness into the mind. You will become immensely confident, hopeful, reliant. Anything you will be able to command, dictate, achieve. How did the sage Valmiki, who was a forest dacoit, how did he write the entire sweet and melodious Ramayana? Imagine the transformation that took place in him. A robber, a dacoit, writing Ramayana, which the loftiest saints and sages of the world adore even today. Imagine the transformation. Spiritual wisdom does not fight with anybody. It only appeals itself, induces itself. People love to imbibe it, absorb it, assimilate it, get enriched by it, and then display its profundity, bountifulness, gracefulness. So he becomes a Mahakarta. Janmasthiti vinasheshu sodayastamayeshwalam samameva manoyasya Mahakarta sa uchyade. I was thinking a little bit about how to impart this message of Mahakartrutva. The word Maha means something great, immensely so, magnificently so. Karta means a performer. Who is a performer? Can a greedy man perform well? Can a doubtful man perform well? Can an unwilling man perform well? Can one with a lot of constrictions and cobwebs in the mind perform well? Not at all, my dear souls. We must have a clear mind, a transparent mind, an expansive mind, a scintillating mind, a radiant mind, which constantly radiates joy, 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 delight, 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 revelry. Not from any object from this world, but from itself. Itself. If the clouds go away, how will the moon shine? Will it have to borrow luster? Or it is already luminous? The luminosity was not visible because of clouds. When the clouds go away, the moon starts shining with its full radiance. Understand, your mind also is a moon. Look at the little children, how beautifully they laugh and smile and kick the air with their legs and hands. What do they get? They have nothing, but still they do it. So we don't have to borrow joy. We don't have to chase it. It's already gracing us. Remove the obstructions from your mind, obstructions from the intelligence. Be free of all constrictions. Janmasthiti vinasheshu sodayastamayeshwalam. This is from Yoga Vasishta Ramayana. Samameva mano yasya. Birth, janma, sthiti, prevalence after it, vinasha, destruction. Not only of small items like living beings, the birth of the entire world, the birth of the sun, the moon, the earth, so many other stars, janma, sthiti, and prevalence afterwards, vinasheshu, destruction. Sodayastamayeshwalam. Every day the sun rises and sets. Similarly, so many plants emerge, sprout, and after some time they perish. Small scale and larger scale durations of life are there everywhere. In all these things, samameva mano yasya. All these together constitute the wholeness of creation. Everything has got its place. Do not be enamored of the big and the great, and do not be depressed by the lowly and the poor. Everything has its place of honor and greatness. We have 5 fingers. All of them are not alike. Fold them. See how they fold. See? Don't you think this is the best grip that we can have? Suppose all the fingers are of the same size and they move in the same direction. Do you think you will be able to hold anything firmly? Everything has a place. Our hands are folding and legs are folding backward. They become a beautiful pair. Similarly, everything in this world is contributory to the wholeness of the welfare. Samameva mano yasya. The word samatva is, in everything you find the same harmony, the same intelligence, the same creative will, design and purpose. It is there in the ant, in the elephant, in the lion, in the whale, in the human, in the turtle. Everywhere you find the presence of the same creative force. Mahakarta sauchyade. If you are able to evenize all your differences and the mind becomes a uniform whole, can you imagine its capacity to work? The body will become light. You will walk on the earth, but you will feel you are flying in the air. When I was writing Srimad Bhagavatam as a part of our Naimisharanyam Srimad Bhagavata Tattva Samiksha Satram, when I came to the 10th chapter, And I had to describe the Rasa Leela. I wrote, I am stepping into a very delicate corner, a very delicate sphere, phase of my narrative. The little Krishna sporting, playing his flute, etc., with a number of young girls as well as elderly women. So when I was writing for quite some time, as I was writing, I felt that I was not walking on the floor in the ashram. I felt so buoyant that I was not stepping on the floor. What do you think of it? This is what spirituality is, devotional excellence is, and yogic beauty is. Mahakarta sauchyade. The word sama means quite a lot. You are not finding God in the erected idol. You are not missing him in the rock from where the idol stone was extracted. We see God in the idol erected, but we miss him in the larger mountainous rock. Can you compliment such an intelligence? Can we not rise further? Can we not correct ourselves? Can we not set right our constricted perceptions? My dear souls, get up, rise. Think broadly, greatly, loftily. In the whole world, imagine the space occupied by the solid earth, the fluid water, the gaseous air, and the brilliant and hot fire. Also try to understand and calculate the free, empty sky. Tell me which is more. As I have said earlier, put a dot, decimal, 19 zeros and 1. That will be the proportion of the solid matter in space and the free space. How can you miss this expansional space and be overpowered by the solid earth, the fluid water, the gaseous air, and the hot and brilliant fire alone? Is not this partiality, this constriction in your perception, being graced with a human intelligence, pathetic, pitiable, deplorable? Is there any worse deplorability? You miss the space and you are overawed by the other elements. Are you a child? What is your age? Tell me. How can you miss the greater existence? All these products have come from space. That is the source of it. They are hovering in the sky, and you miss the sky. I was telling our ashram inmates yesterday or day before yesterday, you are walking. You are looking at the legs walking, but you miss the legs. You are speaking, but you miss the tongue. You are thinking and you are missing your mind. How can you miss the spatial existence and pervation? So the key to become a Mahakarta is the expansion of the mind. The relaxation, freedom, flexibility and harmony of the mind. Finding the supreme truth, call it God, Atma or Brahman, everywhere. In the particle as well as in the mountain. Nowhere is it absent. The word Brahman means infinitude. Infinitude. The word Atma refers to the I within your body. Its own universal dimension is called Brahman. There is no difference between the two. Take a drop of ocean from anywhere upon the earth. It is the same sea water. experience a drop of it in the self, and then cultivate the understanding that this drop alone is everywhere, and become Brahmic in your perception, realization and interaction. Samameva mano yasya mahakarta sa uchyate. When the subject of introspection widens to cover huge dimensions, what did I say? When the subject of introspection, what are you introspecting over? Brahman. That broadens and widens and deepens and becomes loftier and loftier. The mind and its possessor, namely yourself, you also become great, huge and a Mahakarta, a mighty and majestic performer. Rise above the petty notions of the mind and do not have petty objectives. I want a house. I want to purchase a car. I pity you, my dear souls. With a car, what will you get? You will be happy. Is the happiness in the nose or the finger or in the car shed? What is this happiness? Up to the car, it is outside, I agree. But the moment you say happiness, it is nowhere outside. It is nowhere in your body, in your skin. Not in your eyes, in your ears, in your nose, in your tongue, in your skin. It is inside. It is in the mind. It is in the mind. Mind. Treat the mind. Outlive, dismiss all kinds of petty notions and short and trifling objectives. When the mind is free from all these negative constrictions, it becomes flexible, expansive, and whatever you perform will belong to a far greater level. Krishna was not a king of a small piece of land even. His uncle invited him from Vrindavan for a Dhanur Yaga, he said. Krishna was very young, very young. When Akrura delivered the message, without asking anybody, Krishna said, "Let us go, my dear brother." Both of them started. A huge tusker was kept there to attack Krishna and finish him. The first reception was given in Mathura by the huge tusker called Kuvalayapida. Krishna played with it. You know, the elephants can do majestic movements, but they won't be able to do anything. They cannot reach their legs. So Krishna, a small boy, started going here and there, hiding between the legs, etc. Only the tusker became angry, that's all. Finally he felled it, plucked the two tuskers, kept them on the shoulder, and walked gallantly towards the wrestling platform. Both of them faced their opponents, adversaries. They did not last long. One after the other fell. The rest of them fled. Krishna took a leap to where his uncle was seated in the gallery to witness the slaughter of his nephew. He jumped and reached there, took Kamsa, his uncle, threw him into the platform. Not only that, he also jumped and fell on his back. That was the only grace Kamsa got in his life. His nephew was on his back for a short while. Kamsa finished. Krishna straightaway went to release his father, Kamsa's father, Ugrasena, and anoint him as the king. This is India. This is India. We will do everything, but not for a result to benefit us. Not for a benefit. for oneself. He installed Ugrasena as the king. He created his own Dwaraka and moved there. He was not a king at all. Even then, whenever it was necessary, he battled with a number of kings and soldiers. And the figure I have, it is subject to verification. 15 crores of people he has caused the destruction of. 15 crores means 150 millions. 150 million. He was not a king at all. To the real knower, there will be no attraction for the world at all. The dream born of our sleep is a delusion. I don't know whether I should stand up. How to attract your attention and force on this? Shall I get up? Every one of you knows about the dream. The dream is full of activity. It presents a world like what you experience otherwise in wakefulness. That world suddenly gets displayed in the sleeper within his body. When we wake up, we understand it was a dream and call it an illusion. If the dream born of sleep is an illusion, answer me. The wakefulness born of the same sleep, is it also not an illusion? Show me one wakeful state which has not emerged from sleep. We already have a personal experience of dream, a display of a world, manifestation of a world from the sleeper within himself. In the same manner we wake up from sleep. Because we have woken up from sleep, this is also a display. If dream is an illusion, this wakefulness also is an illusion. So the magnificent knower will never get deluded or attracted by the world. He will only have to give to the world, not take a speck even. A speck even. What is there the world can give? Only sheer objects, solid objects, or subtle objects. Maybe things like earth, water, air, energy like fire. Nothing else the world can give. Both of them are inert matter and energy. I am vibrant. My needs are inner. For the mind, for the intelligence, can any matter enter and go here? A newborn baby remains separate from the mother throughout her life and its life. Till then the body was inside her uterus. When the child came, the child remains separate, never enters the mother. She is happy looking at the child. And that happiness is not created even by the eyes. It is by the mind. So my dear souls, do not be deluded. This material world can never give me happiness that I want. My mind produces my happiness. It bestows on me. With many things, I can still be discontent. With a few things, I can still be contented. I tell the world, my dear world, what can you do for me? Throw me anywhere you want. You cannot give me a plus, nor can you inflict a minus. My body is full with substances, and inside my body I am full with my mind, intelligence, ego and the self. There is no place for anything at all. I am abundant. I am full. I am affluent. I am prosperous. I am opulent. But my opulence doesn't come from money. My wealth is the contentment of the mind. What do you think of this philosophy? Is it something dry? Not at all. It is very wet, very warm. When a knower understands that all the objective is no more than an illusion, he becomes a Mahakarta. He becomes a constant giver, never a taker. I don't understand. What in this world can make me happy? What? Happiness is the prerogative of the mind. So many kings in our land have abandoned the throne and they have walked empty-handed to the woods to remain there, lead an ascetic life of austerity, contemplation, inner absorption and beatitude. So many, not one. Kalidasa says, while describing the great Ikshvaku dynasty, Shaishave Abhyasta Vidyanam, Yauvane Vishayaishinam, Vardhake Munivrittinam, Yoge Nante Tanutyajam. It is Kalidasa's words, mind you. I am not quoting a scripture or an epic. Shaishave Abhyasta Vidyanam. The children, the princess of the royal family of Ikshvaku dynasty, while they were young, they were given to acquiring and gaining knowledge. When they became middle-aged, Yauvane Vishayayishina, they started indulging in romance. Vardhake Munivrittinam. When they passed the middle age, they did not stop a while, simply left everything. Munivrittinam took to the ascetic life. They were in the palace, enjoying many comforts and conveniences. The same mind, when the body grew old enough, it decided that from today onwards, no, I am going to the woods. Our mind is capable of taking this decision. My dear souls, don't underestimate the potential or the magnitude of your mind. As it is given to luxuries now, it can also opt for poverty and austerity later. That is what happens in Vanaprastha life. Yogenante tanutyajam. By the end of their life, they got into yoga absorption and left their body. Left their body. Not the body left the soul. They left the body. So when I am speaking about all these, don't think that it is an imagery. It is a fictional edifice. No, not at all. Ihaivatayirjidas sargo yesham samye sthidam manaha nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmanite sthida. You may wonder whether this samatva of the mind, the clarity the intelligence has about the sensory display around us, whether it can mean something very great. Krishna says in the 5th chapter, Ihaivatayir jidas sargo. The word sarga means the entirety of creation. It has been won over by taihi, by those people, while living here itself. Yesham samye sthidam manaha, whose mind is sufficiently established in samya, evenness and harmony. When the mind becomes established in harmony, I don't know how to drive home this idea. You are interacting with the world. The world doesn't interact with you. The world is inert. 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 The sun is, the moon, the stars, the earth, the water, air, fire, space, everything is inert. No interaction can start from them. All interactions are emerging, proceeding from us, from the mind. When that mind is established in samya, evenness, ihaivatayirjita sargu, those people have won over the entire world. Samya, ki kore bujabo baba. Ungale eppadi puriya vaikkirathu? എങ്ങനെയാണ് നിങ്ങൾ മനസ്സിലാക്കിക്കുക? ഞാൻ കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ നിങ്ങൾ? ആർ യു ഹിയറിംഗ് മീ? When the mind is established in samya, it is a very personal inner experience. But that inner experience, its value, its impact, its effectiveness, how much it is, the entire world is won over by them. Because the world can only approach you through 5 senses. So the infinitude of the world becomes reduced to 5 because of your 5 senses. And these senses also are inert. Those 5 sensations trickle down to your mind, where they become 2, sukha and dukkha. It is the sukha and dukkha that the seeker, the discreet sadhaka, harmonizes, evenizes. So when he is able to establish samya in his mind, he wins over the entire world. That is why he floats in the ecstasy of the world, and he doesn't look for anything, not even a tuppence. What do you think of spirituality? It makes you the super emperor of the whole creation. Super emperor. There is nothing before you to allure you, to fascinate you, to enchant you, to conquer you, to subdue you, to overpower you. Your mind overwhelms everyone and everything in this world. It overwhelms Brahma, the creator, Lord Shiva, the destroyer. Everything it overwhelms. And it triumphs by its own majesty, invisible glory, experiential wonder. Nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmat brahmani te sthidah. I am discussing Brahma Sthiti, mind you. Sthiti in Brahman. Nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmat brahmani te sthidah. Brahman is nirdosha, devoid of evil. Sama, equal everywhere. So when their mind is established in equalness, they are seated in Brahman. Their abode becomes Brahman. You carry Brahman wherever you go. It becomes your abode. Like the body is an abode for the soul, for you Brahman becomes the abode. Just imagine. Why a person becomes a magnificent performer? Because his mind has risen from all constrictions, all triflingness, all limitations. He carries a spatial expanse in him. With that, whatever he wants to do. How could sage Valmiki write 24,000 Sanskrit verses cutting across the fibers of palm leaves? How did Vyasadeva write 125,000 Sanskrit verses he dictated? How? It came as a flow of a river. It came as a flow. The whole personality becomes integrated, harmonious, harmonious. He can devour and assimilate all conflicts. What conflict is there? My Gurudev used to say, there is a point where contradictions meet. I have never asked him for an explanation. There is a point where all contradictions meet. I added in my own way, and dissolve, and dissolve. This is the truth. Let us stop for the time being. Launching the new website has been a necessity and also the aspiration of our people. They have been working in a concerted manner. 2 professional teams on the one hand from Bangalore and our own internal team consisting of quite a number of people. They have worked day in and day out. All of them are professionals. I think it was a good realization of so many months of effort that we were able to release it on that day. I hope, as Dr. Meeru said, that it will be of use and relevance for all of you. Do not miss them. I have been speaking for 65 years and more. Earlier, these video messages were not available as they are now. So, whatever is available in the video side, I believe, that has been incorporated. About audio, I don't know. I think there is a lot of information, knowledge, many things that all of you would like to know. Everything is revolving around our mind, life and interaction with the world. This point you keep in mind. We shall stop. Samvedyavarjitamanottamameghamahadyam Samvitpadam vikalanam kalayan mahatman Hridyeva tishtha kalanarahita kriyam tu kurvan agartrapadametya samodita shri kurvan agartrapadametya samodita shri. Hari, Hari, Hari. The conclusional Omkara, be ready for it. Okay. Hari Om. That's Jai Guru.